Hello, welcome to our Sunday at 7. I can't believe another week has gone round already. It's crazy how quickly the year is going. Let's have a look at some of the other books that I've acquired recently. So we have To Educate the Human Potential. So we might have a look at that one. We have Psychogeometry. I really like this book. We have From Childhood to Adolescence. And Education and Peace. If you want any book recommendations, just message me in the group chat. So Montessori with Miss Sandra is different to this page. It's a group where you can come and ask your questions. So ask your questions and I will answer, as will lots of other qualified and interested Montessori people too. So this is my Sandra Copping page. Find my group Montessori with Miss Sandra, which is where you can share pictures of what you've done, where you can ask questions about other people. Have you got any issues in class you'd like to share ideas? Everything's there, especially on a Monday. You can come and introduce yourself too. So that's my group Montessori with Miss Sandra. Let's get on with our lecture for this evening. I'm just going to open my notes up now that you're ready to find me. So we've got lots of people here this evening, so welcome. I have my globe over this shoulder here, and I have a really special plant over this corner here. And this is actually from the spider plant that grows outside Maria Montessori's, I think it's her school in Italy. So somebody snuck me a cutting a long time ago. So that's a really special little plant there. So I thought I'd share that with you. So this evening then, we're looking at the new teacher. So we're looking at concentration, normalisation and the role of the adult in this process. So this is based on the lecture 32. So if you've not listened before, I take the lectures, I pick them apart, I try to make them really easy reading, and I give it to you in a way that I hope you're going to understand, even if you decide to watch it twice. Okay, so we're looking at the new teacher then, and it describes the most essential discoveries in Montessori, the phenomenon of concentration, because everything starts with developing that concentration in our children. If we can't concentrate, we can't learn anything. Don't confuse concentration with sitting still. They're two completely different things. We don't have to be sitting to concentrate, okay? We're looking for concentration on a task. We're not looking for a child who sits still. Completely different things. So concentration, Montessori tells us then, is a part of life. It's not a special achievement. It's something that's going to happen. It's a natural human state that emerges when a child finds meaningful work. And she explains that concentration is not a consequence of forcing children to work hard, but it's the consequence of giving them the correct things to learn, engaging them, having that prepared environment that's there to take up the child's inner energy so they can function freely and purposefully with activities that they love. So Montessori reminded teachers that when children can't concentrate, it's not an illness. Deviations are not an illness. We sometimes call it naughty, Montessori would say, or, you know, disorder in the children. But these repressions that she called them then, they're children's natural impulses. But they just need to find things to do. So the solution isn't punishment. If your child can't sit still in class, the worst thing you can do is stop them from going out at a break time to run about, because the child's body is telling them they need to move. And you as the trained guide are there to meet their needs. So it has to be purposeful movement. We're not talking about children destroying the place through movement. We're talking about engaging them, their concentration in purposeful movement. So just since someone said about ADHD, yeah, children with ADHD, I have huge success with them in my classroom because they come in and they have free choice about what they want to do. And when they find something they love, that could be digging in the garden. It could be carrying heavy things up in the garden. It could be that they're really interested in unusual things such as medals or the war or train. We need to know what a child's interest is, and then they will focus regardless of any regressions or disorders we think children might have. If we meet their needs, they will focus and they'll love learning. And that's what's key with children. We need to remove the obstacles. And if the obstacles is the four walls, The child goes outside. Some children cannot cope with being inside. The noise bounces off the walls. We might not hear it, but other children might, because they might be sensitive to that. I had a child once who couldn't cope in class because the windows were open and the smell of the school dinner wafted in, and she spent all of her lessons feeling ill because the smell of the food was overwhelming for her, but it didn't bother the other people in her class. But for her, she just couldn't learn. That was the barrier to her learning. She was overstimulated through her senses. So we really have to understand then how we're going to meet our children's needs, because when the obstacles are removed, whatever that obstacle is, the purposeful activity will happen, the energies will flow in the right direction, and concentration will happen. But we have to remember, it's freedom, it's not license to do what they want. So Montessori said we need to give the children freedom, but not without guidance. It's not an unchecked freedom that then creates even more deviations. Children will normalise and they will become calmer and joyful and orderly when their energy is directed into constructive activity. So then Montessori reminds us the child needs freedom within the prepared environment and guidance towards purposeful work. So the normal development of the child requires this positive use of the energy. And doesn't it in all of us? If we have too much energy and we don't channel ourselves into doing something, we either mindlessly waste time being distracted forever and procrastinating and not doing anything, or we get disruptive and we get aggressive, don't we? I can remember a time in my life when every Saturday morning that I woke up, I felt really frustrated and I was cross, and my husband would say, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, it's Saturday and I don't have a routine. I'm not getting up, doing breakfast, taking the children to school, going to work. I'm at a loss because I haven't made a plan and I can't cope with it, and I just feel cross with myself. Then I realised that I needed a plan for Saturday because I needed to know what I was doing and I needed to know what order I was doing things in so that I could function. And children are the same. We need to know what's happening, what's our routine. It's our sense of order. What time am I going to eat? How long until I have my lunch? What's going to be for lunch? So this is the things I need to fit in this task space this morning. This is the time I have. We all need this sense of order, this timetable, this reliability in our lives. Freedom to do what we need to do, but not freedom just to be crazy and make a mess and be disorderly and disruptive. So we need, just like the normally developing child, we need a positive use of our energy on tasks, and that will help us to concentrate. Whether we're concentrating on doing a puzzle, scrubbing the kitchen floor, cleaning the car, writing a book, reading something, it's all concentration. What we have to remember though, with our classrooms especially, is the environment belongs to the children. And Montessori reminds us that although we are custodians of it, we're making sure it's prepared, it belongs to the children. And I used to be really strong on this when I had my class. I had a class for many years before I managed a group of nurseries. I still found it really hard to give up having a class. And even when I was managing, my favourite thing as manager was to actually go in and work with the children in the classrooms. And they loved it when I arrived. It was like, Miss Sandra's here. Oh, what's going to happen today? Because I was that bright and educated and well presented and full of information for the children, and it was like a magnet to them, and they knew they were going to learn something interesting and it would be an amazing session for them. So it's their environment though to master. We are there to enhance it, to prepare it, to keep it organised, to make sure there's something there to meet the needs of those children, whether it's in the classroom or outside of the classroom. We're there to organise all of it for each child, to make sure there's something that calls to them. Montessori reminds us that it's the child's environment then, because he must master it. And that's how the child is going to progress, have this intrinsic motivation, this level of confidence and self-esteem that's going to carry them through their life so they can take on whatever challenges come across them. So once our children are then in this prepared environment, which can be the garden or somewhere else you've taken them, or the classroom or the home, once they are engaged and concentrating them, we don't disturb a child who's working. So if you notice the child has decided to scrub the floor, and you think, oh, for goodness sake, what are they doing scrubbing the floor? Don't disturb them. The child is concentrating on that task and it's giving them great joy. My daughter, when she was 2, absolutely loved scrubbing the kitchen floor. It was one of her favourite pastimes. And my friends used to joke and say she can come and clean our floor. And I said she would. She'd absolutely love it. And she wasn't doing it for any money or sweets. She did it because she loved the work. And, you know, the gross motor skill and the concentration and the coordination in scrubbing the floor is an absolutely wonderful job. So if you have some children who are extra active, need the movement, maybe they are diagnosed with ADHD, and maybe they're not, maybe they just come in and they need lots of movement that day, invite them to scrub an area of the floor. It doesn't need to be dangerously messy. They don't need a huge bucket of water. They just need an inch of warm soapy water in a small bowl with however many want to do it, 3 or 4 sponges and a towel, and they can scrub and dry and scrub and dry. And while they're doing that, they are going to be concentrating. That is their purposeful work, isn't it? And they're going to be talking to their friends and cooperating and developing social skills and communication skills, and seeing that I'm doing a bigger area and this is a smaller area and this is a little area. So we've got our language and our maths all in something like scrubbing the floor. I remember years ago, I'm going to tell you about this because it was lovely, in my very old classroom, the first one I ever had, I had a little tiny side room that was the snack room, and it was just big enough for a little table and about 4 children to sit in together and go for group snack. And it had child height sink and work table and a storage cupboard. And one day the children asked me if they could clean the room. So I gave them, I actually gave them a little bit too much bubbly water, but we lifted out the chairs and tables and they scrubbed, and I just left them in there scrubbing, and I went back in. They had scrubbed the cupboards and the worktops, and they'd scrubbed the walls, and the floor wasn't clean at all. It looked like an absolute mud bath. But those children who needed that movement, they had concentrated for so long scrubbing the kitchen, and they loved it so much. I could hear the laughter and the chatter coming from the room, and I thought, they're in there, they're busy, there's nothing they can do a huge amount of harm to, things are just going to get wet, they're going to get wet, absolutely fine. But they developed their concentration through that purposeful work. And when they'd finished, I gave them towels, they dried the walls, we put the towels on the floor, we soaked up all the little dirty water that had come up, we took the towels and we put them in the washing machine. The snack room was perfect. It was absolutely spotless. The children were happy, and I'd seen concentration in them. And that's a process towards normalisation. They didn't have to be sat at a table frustrated because they weren't ready to sit and work. So the environment belongs to them. And when we give them that level of ownership and responsibility, they will pick up things they see on the floor, even if they didn't drop it, because they love and care for their room. They will put the books away. They'll start to learn to pick things up that they see in the wrong place and resort them. They will just go and clean something, tidy something, sweep something, because all the tools are there, and they're their height and they're their tools. And this work then is the work that is also going to attract our children who can't sit still to concentrate because they need more movement, and they'll understand they can do these tasks, and the more they do them, the more they'll concentrate, and they'll come down to the calmer work, and they will sit and joyfully do something when they get to that stage in their development. So don't be scared of if your children are going to sit and clean all day, or if you have children who are at the stage where they love pictures and colouring and they sit and do that for 2 hours. They're concentrating, and that's one of the really important things to develop in our minds, in our education, is to be able to concentrate on a task and see it through. So when they're doing this concentration, then we don't disturb our children. We never disturb a child that's working. We only stop or step in if it's disruptive. Now, if you see a child start a task and they're doing it wrong, then I would actually say to the child, oh, can I just remind you how to do this? They're at the beginning of the task. They're not in full concentration. They've picked something up. They're misusing it. And I can see that actually it's going to be detrimental if they get into the wrong habit of how to do something. So in that case, I would. But if a child's deep in concentration, they know what they're doing with their work, because you've given your good quality presentations, we don't. We just leave our children to work. Okay. So when they're in this deep stage of work and they're concentrating, don't praise them, don't interrupt them, don't ask them to look up so you can take a photograph. If you can quietly take a picture from their learning journey from stood behind as you're walking past and it's not going to disturb them, then do it. But otherwise, just leave the child to work. Even little interventions, Montessori said, would break the child's concentration. And this concentration is precious. This means that we don't want staff getting up to answer the phone. We don't want the phone ringing in our work cycles. Put the phone out of the way in the office, yeah? We don't need anybody coming in asking what time their lunch break is or asking how many people want this for dinner. Your classroom needs to be calm without disruption so your children can concentrate and you are not distracted, because you moving about, talking across the room to colleagues, that's a distraction too, and you break the children's concentration. Years ago, I had a teacher who always arrived late. She was actually on a placement. She wasn't a qualified teacher. And she would walk through the classroom big and loud with a coffee cup in her hand and a massive soft toy under one arm and a book on. And I just said to her, stop. You cannot enter the classroom doing that, because you are just disrupting the whole class. And, you know, as a teacher, you have to do that. You have to say to people, I need you to stop. Your actions are disrupting the children. We need to think about this. You know, if you want to speak to so-and-so, you need to quietly walk over. But actually, can it not wait until the end of the work cycle? Is it that essential? You really need to be precious about your work cycle for the sake of your children, because they're the bits that they can't do. But what they can do, and I have seen it so many times, is if you're disruptive in their work environment, they'll come and ring the quiet bell at you, because I've seen so many children do that when people have tried to stand up in my room talking. They come and ring the bell and say, excuse me, it's work time. So it's lovely. Empower your children to use that quiet bell too. So once our children are concentrating, then there are going to be tasks where, if we're digging in the garden, something doesn't go wrong because we're just working and we're digging and we're doing whatever. We're going to have other tasks where there might be errors, but we learn that we can correct ourselves. So Montessori's actual materials then reveal their own errors to the child, don't they? So through repetition, through refining our movements, our children get more precise, they gain more understanding. We have things with a firm physical control of error when they're younger, such as pouring beads. If they spill, we hear them go on the tray, we see them go on the tray. Things like our cylinder blocks, if we put one in the wrong place, the final one's not going to fit in. Then our control of error develops, doesn't it? So such as the spindle box, I have to understand that I have one left, so it must belong somewhere. It takes a higher level of understanding than a cylinder block where we can see this absolutely won't finish. You know, with things like the spindle boxes, we need that understanding with the cards and counters and things as well. So we have the control of error in our work, but much of it depends on the maturity of our child. But our children will correct themselves when they understand if their work is paced at the right stage. If we don't jump ahead, there's no good being lazy and thinking, oh, I can't be bothered to watch your children take out all the number rods today, so I'm going to do spindle box because it's easier. There are skills from number rods and numerals that our children need to have before we move on to spindle box. Because then when we move on to spindle box, we have the knowledge to be able to correct ourselves. And when we have achieved the spindle box, we have the knowledge to be able to correct ourselves with cards and counters. So it's really important that you follow the flow of materials so that children learn all the skills that are required from that, so they have the ability to self-correct in their work. Otherwise, they lose all those little treasures of gems that are sewn into each piece of work for them. So this correction as well also helps to develop deeper concentration, because I know I'm going to be able to solve this. I don't need to look up. I don't need to ask for anybody else. I'm thinking through. I've got the skills. I'm doing this harder piece of work. I've made a mistake, but I know I can put it right. I believe in myself. So us then as the teacher, this new teacher, we need to be sensitive to this. We need to be observant, don't we? We can't just sit with one child doing a pouring activity and make out that we're busy because we're sat next to that child. We do our presentation, we stand up, we move off, we excuse ourselves, we stand back. Deep fielding in our room, we're scanning the whole room, we're seeing, oh, that child's made a really good job today, spindle box is complete. This one's doing cards and counters, there's a lovely structure over there with the pink tower. Oh, I can see somebody in the book corner is just going to need me because they're just trying to climb up the rack, so I'm just going to move myself quietly over there and say, oh, what would you like to do? Did you want to look at a book, or would you like to come with me and do this? Because that child wasn't concentrating, that child needed your guidance, and that's what a clever teacher knows. Then we get this child settled and we might stand up in the corner and look around again and think, I have 22 children in this room and they're all engaged and concentrating. I've got 3 scrubbing the floor, 2 working with the dominoes, 1 doing the number rods, 1 doing the spindle box, 6 doing practical lives, 2 in the story area. And all of a sudden you can see that all of this work you've put in as the teacher, understanding your children, following their needs, giving them those big motor skills and all those experiences outside when they need them and inside when they need them, starting with their little tasks, building up their skills, sticking to your classroom rules, starting with your routines, knowing your grace and courtesy, your care of the classroom. All of these things as a teacher you've learnt then have enabled your children to get to this point in their education. So your children are now concentrating, they're developing, all these regressions, these deviations, they're disappeared now, and you have a wonderful class of children, and you can step back and say, the children are now working as if I don't exist. Well, you still are needed, because there's always going to be more advanced things that need that first presentation. But to get our class to the point where they are now working independently, they're packing away, they're tidying, they're keeping their environment clean, they understand about controlling themselves, they have this inner motivation, this self-control, you have achieved what you needed for your class. And when it comes to the next intake, whether that's September, which it is in many countries, in other countries it's January, some of your children move on. You have maybe 30 children or 24 children, and your next little group of 8 or 10 move in. They come in, they're the ones you focus on because your older ones already know it all. Your 6-year-olds are going to mentor them too, and you look and see which ones need the outdoor work again, and there you are doing digging and scrubbing and whatever, and then a term's gone past and you think, wow, they're all settled again, they're all engaged, they're all working, this is wonderful. And you just take a breather, and then it's time for another group to leave and go to school and another group wander in. But you've kept up the momentum, you've kept up the rules, you've been reliable with your children. Your 5 to 6-year-olds are now almost like having teachers in the class. Your 4 to 5-year-olds have gone through all of the practical life, and they're really sensible and they can keep the class rolling for the day. And your 3 to 4-year-olds are coming in now and they're learning it all anew, and the slightly older children support them, and you're back outside doing those big things again. But you know, if you trust in the method, that it's going to work if you meet each child's needs. And there they are again, and it's all calm again, and you think, I've done it again. And when you do that for enough years and you trust in the system, you can really see how it works for the children. The problems are when you get new staff that don't trust in the system, because training them and bringing them on board is a really hard job for a teacher, but you have to be firm in what you believe. You have to say, I know this works, this is what I need you to do, this is how it operates in this classroom, this is what will happen, believe in the system. And then you grow from being a new teacher, don't you, to a confident teacher, to seeing these things over and over again, knowing that we trust in the system that works, knowing that we can meet each child's needs. We can't make the children do what we have chosen. We have to enable the children to meet this inner drive in them of where they are, the point they're at that time. So to start with then, yes, we're like a police officer, aren't we? We're watching everything. We're protecting the children that are the citizens that are getting on with their work from the disturbers. We're engaging the disturbers. We're giving them things to do that meet their needs. And then all of a sudden, you know, we're gracefully there with all of these beautiful children working, and we think, absolutely, now I can float around the room like a swan or a butterfly, and it's much easier for me. And the children then will just carry on with their work, re-engaging in more meaningful work. And it doesn't mean that some days they might come in and, you know, need those things outside again, or those heavier skills, because that is also respecting, isn't it, the inner life of the child. We don't know what's happened to every child every day. And sometimes, yep, the whole class can be disorderly, can't it? And on those days, especially at the beginning of term, don't worry about bringing your whole class together and doing group activities when they're new, or the 8 or 10 that are new. That's absolutely fine. Montessori knew that, especially in new classrooms, that many children are going to be disordered. And she then recommended group activities, singing, stories, group exercises, you know, do some yoga with them, do some exercises, take them outside. In the classroom, big practical life skills like practicing carrying their chairs and moving objects quietly. Are you strong enough to pick your chair up like this and carry it across the room and put it down in a pile? Can you put your chairs in stacks of 4 if you have chairs that stack? Can you all come and clean this with me because there's a mess? All of these lovely big group activities where one teacher then has got the children who are not going to settle. It's absolutely fine, but you're protecting the rest of the class that is settled from them until you start to see this concentration through their activities. That down, because they really don't. Montessori said that, you know, meet the needs of the children. Group activities is fine, but we don't want to do it forever. But to bring our children together, to start the process of them working, of them concentrating, it's absolutely fine. And then when concentration does come, you know, the deviations disappear. And she also said that it's quite good as well to have competition between the children, you know, because that will disappear as well when they can concentrate. Who can carry their chair the quietest? It's fine, because when they can all carry chairs quietly, that's not going to be a competition. They're all going to have achieved it. But sometimes we need that level of competition for the concentration. It's not something we do continually, and it needs to be, you know, we're not doing racing, but it's to establish those classroom rules. Who can walk up straight like this through the classroom, one foot in front of the other? Wow, you all can. That's really clever. I love it. Who can carry the chair? Who's going to be the quietest? Wow, you all did it quietly. That's incredible. So you're setting up a competition, but they're all a winner. And that's absolutely fabulous as well. And they've all then learnt the classroom rules by you engaging a small group at a time. So competition isn't harmful if it's done in the right way. And like Montessori assures us, when concentration comes, the competition disappears, the child will choose his own work, he'll be independent and he'll be peaceful. She says, give the children activity and attract them through sweetness, through being lovely. And that's what we need to be with our children. If we start giving orders, if we start punishing, if we start criticising, we've failed. We're not a good teacher if we do that. All we do is harm our children. We take away their confidence, we knock their self-esteem, and we make them feel unvalued. And then they're not going to normalise and go through this wonderful process of becoming a child that loves learning. So the teacher then, we need to be dignified, attractive. Montessori said, we're not a peer, we are their teacher, we're not their friend. We can be kind and loving, but we are there as the more intelligent adult. We are there to share our knowledge with them. We do need to be dignified with them. It doesn't mean you can't play, you can play, but the children need to look up to you. They need to aspire to be like the adults that are around them. We want them to achieve great things. We want them to learn. We want them to think, wow, I wish I could do that. And I love it. I used to have several children say to me, Miss Sandra, when I'm big, I want to be a teacher like you because you're so kind. And even when I had my grandson come and visit in the summer, and he brought two 11-year-old friends with him, and they walked into the classroom. Now, it is mainly for 0 to 8-year-olds in my classroom, but any good Montessori teacher will know there's things in there you can learn whatever age you are if you have a good set of equipment, especially the cultural things. There's so much in there that people don't know that they can learn from. And the boys came in, they were doing triangular symmetry with me, and they said, this is such great fun. We didn't know that maths could be so much fun. Well, Freddie knew because he's my grandson. He's always done it with me, but they didn't. And one of the boys said to me, wow, can I use the typewriter? And I said, of course you can. This is how you use it. It's a manual one. It's a lovely heavy work. And he sat there typing, and he typed a little note, and he put it on the table when he'd finished, packed the typewriter away, and the boys said goodbye and they went. And when I was tidying up, I found the little note, and it made me so happy, but it almost made me cry as well. And he put, I love the classroom. Freddie's grandma is really kind and helpful, and I really like her. And I was like, I taught that child once, yet I touched his heart, and he thought that I was a lovely teacher and how kind and helpful I was, and my classroom was really beautiful. And I think if in one moment you can have that impact on a child, that they want to come back and do more with you, they'll want to come back every day, and that's how we inspire them to be great learners, isn't it? We need to be kind and gentle. We need to know the boundary, but we don't need to be mean. We don't need to punish. We don't need to give fake praise. We just need to be genuine with the children, because they love genuine, and they'll suss you out if you're a fake as well. So Montessori says we're not a friend, we're not equals with the children. We need to be mature, we need to be sure of ourselves, we need to be confident. The children need to be able to trust us, they need to admire us, and they need to feel confident in our presence. So I think, to me, those things are really, really important, that the children are confident, that they can ask questions, they can speak up. If they have issues in their life, that they can come to you as a trusted adult to say, I don't feel safe when I'm at this place, or there's something terrible happening, can you help me? And I must admit, through my career, I have been the one teacher that the most children have come and disclosed problems to, because they trusted me to put it right for them. You are the fair person in your class. You are the one who protects the children. You are the one who reinforces and makes sure that everything happens that needs to be. And you are there for them, and you are a major part of their life for possibly 4 or 5 years of their life. And we really need to understand that as the teacher, how important we are in these children's lives. So Montessori does say, though, don't confuse dignity with arrogance, and our grace will really help the children. It beautifies the environment, and this is where our children can develop. So just to conclude then, because my battery is going to run out shortly, I think I've got enough seconds to finish. The new teacher, Montessori says, is one who understands the sacredness of concentration, the necessity of freedom with discipline, and the transformative power of the environment. She learns to watch without interfering, to guide without dominating, and to love without possessing. So when we protect concentration, when we offer meaningful work, meaningful to that child, and we prepare an environment that's worthy of the child, nature does the rest. So the child becomes peaceful, they become self-disciplined, they become joyful, the child becomes themselves. And that's what we're aiming for. So I really loved that lecture from the book. I really pulled it apart and put it into sections to explain it to you. If you have the 1946 London lectures, read the original too. But I really enjoyed that one. I think it really, really reminds us that the value of what we do in early years, and the value of what you do if you're a parent or if you're a grandparent as well. You can make such a big difference and such a big impact on every life that you touch. And for me, when I was training, I had a staff team of about 110, 120, and I would have huge groups of staff to change, and I would say to train, and I would say to them, you know, I want you to learn everything that I know. I want to share this with you, because for each one of you that goes off and spreads Montessori, how many thousands of children can we impact? So the reason I first set up doing Montessori online when I left my career was because I thought, I can have a bigger impact than just the adults in one company. If I can get people to listen to me from all around the world, people that can't access Montessori training, then it would be wonderful to be thinking that, you know, hundreds or thousands of adults will listen and will go away and think, can I do something differently? Can I do something better? And they will then educate their children in Montessori, or just bring in some of the philosophy into their homes. And those children will benefit from having more understanding adults, and hopefully they will become more understanding parents. And that's how we develop this education for peace. We can't keep it to ourselves. We can't gatekeep it. Organisations that charge thousands of pounds for people to train, they're not going to reach enough people for Montessori to ever make an impact on the world, because it's just too elitist. So come, listen, enjoy what I say to you, take it out. If you believe in what I'm saying to you, you know, use it with your children, the children you educate, bring your children up the Montessori way so they go on and they spread it. And if you know more people that would benefit, invite them to come to my page. Nearly everything I do is free for you to listen to. So yeah, so that's what I do, and I love it as well. I love thinking, you know, we can make an impact and we can help children, because children are the best thing ever put on this earth. And if we look after them, they'll grow into beautiful adults. And just remember as well, when you get older, it's the children of today that will be designing our nursing homes. So let's make sure we're kind to them. Lovely. So I will see you all in the week. I've got lots more videos planned. Remember YouTube for my daily videos of my around the world. There'll be a little brief 20-second reminder on Facebook and a link to YouTube. But if you subscribe to the YouTube, you'll get that ding every day to remind you to watch the full video. I'll give you a sneak preview. Where are we going tomorrow? I don't know, I haven't looked yet. Let's have a look. Tomorrow is... Oh, I best get busy. Tomorrow is Australia, and I have so much to show you, so I best get organised and get those beautiful things from Australia, those resources that Lucy sent me out now. See you all soon. I've got 2% battery left, so I best go. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.